Hey y'all, Cedric Watson here, St. Lamar Watson. Thanks for visiting my YouTube channel, and be sure to like, subscribe, or even dislike. But if you do dislike, at least put in the comments why. So today's Good Friday. Happy Good Friday to y'all, and Merry Christmas and all. But I wanted to get into a subject here. My last video that I made, I got the most views on it, and it was basically about the fact that Catholics do not worship Mary. And those who do worship Mary, they need some more catechism and some more learning. They need some more education. Basically, just stop doing that. Quit. That's bad. So let's move on into this subject for today. Catholics worship statues. Yeah, Catholics worship statues. Why do they worship statues? No, they don't worship statues. But to some, it may appear that Catholics worship statues, especially if you're not Catholic, or if you're not of any religious practice. The apostolic church, like Catholic, Orthodox, you're not going to be familiar with these statues and these crucifixions and things like this. Well, today I have my Catholic Bible with me, and I also have my notebook that I keep my notes in whenever I learn things, get inspiration from when I was in OCIA classes. And also, if I just hear a homily or I hear an inspirational speech being given by a Catholic priest or someone of the sort. Well, today, let's get into this. I'm going to tell you straight up from the get-go, Catholics do not worship statues. Now, are there some Catholics that do worship statues? I really don't know. But I can say that when I wasn't Catholic, it appeared to me that they were bowing down to these statues and praying to the statue. It seemed to me like it was looking like they were lighting these candles for the statue. Well, false. Not at all the case was happening. I am Catholic now, so I can tell you and confirm. But first, let's just start with one of the things that a lot of Protestants like to use against Catholics, or people who don't agree with us even having statues in our churches and cathedrals, basilicas, and also in our homes and yards and home altars. Many Protestants don't believe in this. So, and one of they like to use the 10 Commandments, basically. And the first commandment for us is no idolatry. The first is the second commandment for most Protestants. Let's go to Deuteronomy. I decided to use that as the anchor scripture. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 15. Since you saw no form when the Lord spoke to you at Horeb out of the fire, take care and watch yourselves closely, so that you do not act corruptly by making an idol for yourselves in the form of any figure, the likeness of any male or female, the likeness of any animal that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged bird that flies in the air, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the water under the earth. And when you look up to the heavens and see the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the host of heaven, do not be led astray and bow down to them and serve them. Things that the Lord your God has allotted to all the peoples everywhere under heaven. So that was very clear. And I'll tell you one thing I can say, like, how can you make any form or structure of God if he's invisible? He's the Almighty Father, eternal. He's everywhere. He's invisible. How can you? It's impossible. Okay, so and then we have to consider that was in the Old Testament too. Moses, when he brought down the law down from the mountain, Jesus was nowhere near born on earth yet. He was not in the flesh. So these statues that people disagree with, like what I have back here in my altar here in my house, these statues like this of Jesus, some people say, oh, he didn't look like that, or you don't know how he looked or whatever, and that's a sin. They basically telling you that is a sin for doing that, for having a statue or having a statue that represents the character of Jesus, for making a cartoon about Jesus or anyone in the Bible and reenactments. That's all. There are a lot of people that believe that's a sin. That's not a sin. That's the way you pass the story down and tell stories. See, back in the time when Jesus was on earth, the majority of humans could not even read. The only way they knew how to pass the story down was through visual art, theatrical art, and storytellers and things like that. So, you might want to kind of like think about these things before you judge someone for the way they worship the same God that you worship. You see? Now, let me tell you something here. If you go and look, what it said there, it said, he even asked that in the beginning, how can you saw no form of me when I spoke to you at Horeb out of the fire. So it's like, so God was basically saying, duh, like common sense. How can you make any statue of me? But when Jesus came on earth, he was in human form. Now, he said, don't make any form of animals, things that creep around, beasts of the land, birds of the sky. You have to consider that these people, the Israelites at the time, had fallen into paganistic ways of the Egyptians who influenced them over so many years of being under them and in their slavery. So they were worshiping a golden calf. This is an animal that was fake. First of all, it wasn't even a real animal, and it was made of gold. There's a lot of symbolic meaning in this too. Gold. Fake calf. Okay. Let's get into another book of the Bible, Ezekiel. You can go look in there. And this is Ezekiel 41, verse 17 through 20. And Ezekiel was given a vision of the new temple of Jerusalem. Now, Ezekiel is a pretty deep book. Lots of visions and dreams and visits from angel. And verse 17 through 20 here. Ezekiel chapter 41, verse 17 through 20. Now, this is where Ezekiel was given a vision of the new temple in Jerusalem. I'll start 17. To the space above the door, even to the inner room, and on the outside, and on all the walls all around in the inner room, in the nave, there was a pattern. It was formed of cherubim and palm trees, and a palm tree between cherub and cherub. Each cherub had two faces. If y'all don't know what a cherubim is, or in cherub, these cherub and cherubim are creatures of heaven. Angelic-like creatures, but they're not quite what I would say an angel. These are other creatures of heaven. If you study the book of Ezekiel here, just look it up. And well, let's see here, Ezekiel 41, verse 19. You shall make two cherubim of gold, and you shall make them of hammered work at the two ends of the mercy seat. See, so they made these statues, these cherubim, they made them of gold. At first, God had said, no, don't. That's what he had told them whenever they were worshiping the golden calf and things like this, and in the commandments, told them not to make these statues and things. But he did not just say, don't make statues. And that's what people do when they try to debate or argue with Catholics. He said, do not make these images of these things, these statues, and worship them. That's what he said clearly. Make one cherub at one end and one cherub at the other end of one piece. With the mercy seat, you shall make the cherubim at its two ends. The cherubim shall spread out their wings above, overshadowing the mercy seat with their wings. They shall face each other. The faces of the cherubim shall be turned towards the mercy seat. Okay? Very, very similar to what you're going to see in the images of the Ark of the Covenant. So, these are just some scriptures I wanted to show y'all. You know, people, they get really judgmental towards the whole, relics in the Catholic religion and things like this, objects that a saint may have worn or had or he owned, and someone could have used it or held it while they prayed and it healed them from a sickness or exorcised demons and things like that. Yes, that is real. Let's go to the book of Acts. I'll show you where it's real.